Welcome back. This is part 3 in my series talking all about my experience on the high school drill team. I know you've been waiting. You've been asking, when are you going to tell us about your experience on the high school drill team, Amber? Well, this is part 3. If you haven't seen the last 2 episodes, make sure you check them out because they're going to give you a lot of context for what I'm going to talk about today. Today, I want to talk about the nicest thing that anyone has ever done for me in my entire life. Okay, one slight moment. The other day, my daughter, who is 6, she said, Mama, you did the nicest thing ever by marrying Dada. And that's my new favorite thing to say. Just remember how nice I was by deciding to marry you. Okay, but we're not talking about me and the nice things I do, like marrying my adoring husband. We're going to talk about the nicest thing that anybody else has ever done for me. So, in the last 2 episodes, I talked about how I was asked to join the drill team. I had no experience in dance lessons. I taught myself. I learned how to do it all on my own. I have the tenacity and the spirit and the love of flipping my body around to be able to figure it out. And I was eventually invited to be on this elite dance team. And then in the last episode, I also talked to you about how my family didn't have any money. And my mom stood up in one of the orientation meetings and she said, I don't have $500. I'm a single mom with 6 kids at home and no job. How am I supposed to pay for this? So that's where we left off. Now I'm on the dance team, and we had to pay $100 a month of our fees. If we wanted to break it up, we could pay, of course, all of it up front. But who has $500 sitting around when you're a family of 8 and you have maybe $12,000 a year? So I worked my tail off. I asked all my neighbors if I could feed their cats when they were gone, water their plants when they were gone, do babysitting jobs. I mowed my grandpa's lawn. Any job that I could get to try to save up money to pay my fees, I did. And people were very generous. And I just think about how my neighbors would pay me $50 to water their plants, which is a ridiculous amount in what was this, the early 2000s to try to pay somebody for watering plants. But they were so generous and they wanted to help. They knew that my family was in a tough position. They knew that I had things that I wanted to do. And so it was so incredible of them to pay me that money. And it was such a relief. So I worked as hard as I possibly could. And we got towards the end, and I think I had $200 left that I needed to spend, or maybe I had the last $100 left, and I can't remember exactly what it was. But I remember trying to figure out how I was going to come up with this last bit of money to be able to pay my fees. And one day at practice, my coach pulled me aside and she took me outside. She closed the door so nobody else could hear the conversation. And she said, Hey, I just wanted to let you know we found somebody who's going to sponsor you and they're going to pay your remaining fees. And you cannot imagine, I'm just tearing up thinking about this right now. You can't imagine the relief that I felt of feeling, okay, I don't have to carry it all myself. There's somebody that's looking out for me. And I don't know who this incredible sponsor is, but man, what a relief. This is like the greatest gift that anybody could have given me. And it was probably $100, maybe $200. I just couldn't believe it. It was like the best of my life, feeling like somebody was looking out for me and somebody was helping me. So it was an incredible thing. I couldn't believe who this amazing, kind stranger was and kindness that they'd shown to me. And it wasn't until, honestly, a couple years ago when I realized it had to have been my coach. It had to have been her. She had to have been the one who was the one that paid my fees for me. And she had a young family. She had a little baby and her husband, and she had a job at the credit union. And it's funny because I grew up in a really poor part of town. And so I always think about the people who were rich in that part of town. And I think in the context of things, they probably weren't rich at all. There was nobody who would move to that area who was quote unquote rich. And so even though she seemed like she had a lot of money because she had a much nicer car than any car I'd ever seen. I mean, it was probably just only 5 years old instead of 15 years old. So I was like, wow, that's such a fancy car. But she was generous enough to pay those fees for me and take care of me and take care of my family and remove so much stress. When I finally realized that it was her, I looked her up on LinkedIn, I connected with her, and I just sent her a message and I said, I am so grateful to you now as a grown adult who's created a successful career, who's made tons of money, who's brought herself out of that situation and into a much better situation. I pay it forward every chance that I get. So whenever there's team fees or things for my kids' teams and they're asking for donations for families to get backpacks or hats or whatever it is, I always pay double or triple. I wanted to be as generous as possible so that if there are other families who are struggling to pay for that, that they have what they need and that their kid can feel a part of it. A really big part of this whole entire story was feeling like I didn't belong, which I know is a story that so many of you tell yourselves as well. I don't belong because I don't have the money. I don't belong because I don't fit in with these people. I'm different from them. And what this coach did for me is she helped me feel like I did belong, like I mattered, like I was important, and like they wanted me on the team. Whew! Didn't expect to get emotional during this one. But I want to encourage all of you. When I work with clients and I help them figure out, what is your plan? Where do you want to go? Why are you doing this? What makes this meaningful? A lot of the time, a thing that comes up is philanthropy. And people want to give back. They want to be generous. They want to pay it forward. And I want you to ask yourself, how do you want to pay it forward? Some people prefer to pay it forward with their time. I want to mentor people. I want to be there for my friends. I want to be present. I want to be the person that they know they can call when they're having a challenge, when there's a problem. Some people want to do it financially. I want to be able to donate to the causes that I care the most about. I want to be able to contribute to the charities that I care most about and that are meaningful to me. Other people like me, I want to know that I'm affecting somebody in my community who needs my help. I want to do sub for Santas. I want to support the teams. I want to donate to other families. I want to help the kids who aren't able to get the gear that they need. And I want to help them be able to have the experiences that they aren't able to provide for themselves. So as you're creating the success, I want to encourage you to create more success and give more. There's nothing more satisfying than being able to give so generously. And it's a really motivating thing. If you're feeling demotivated in sales right now, you're feeling demotivated in your job of why are we even doing this? Think about if you made an extra 100,000 and you could just give it away. Think about taking your friends and family on a cruise and paying for the whole thing. How fun would that be to just be so generous, and especially to be able to do things for people who aren't able to do it for themselves? As someone who's been the benefactor of that, I can tell you how meaningful it is and how wonderful it is. And now being on the other side, having created the extra wealth that I can share, it's so amazing to be generous and be able to pay it forward to others. I'm hoping that this story inspires you. If you want to learn more about my speaking, it's something that I'm advertising right now. I do workshops, I do keynotes, I can come to your SKOs. Check out my page, mentalmaster.com/speaking, and I'll see you next week.